Strength and conditioning is becoming more and more popular in the MMA world, but do we really need it? Millions of comments all over social media saying things like, your time's better spent on the mats, lifting will make you bulky and slow. Then we sprinkle in the other online coaches who've never had a fight in their life and trying to make some money off sport-specific exercises. So now you're confused. Should I be lifting for MMA? Should I be doing circuits? Is it sport-specific exercises? Today I'm going to cover if we really need S&C for MMA and exactly how to get strong, athletic and reduce chance of injury without getting big, slow and bulky. And this isn't coming from some S&C meathead. I've been doing mixed martial arts for 13 years and I fully understand the technique will always be king. I've also managed to get pretty athletic and hold a decent condition along the way. Part 1. Do we actually need S&C for MMA? Well, we still see elite fighters in MMA that don't actually lift. We got the likes of Nate Diaz, Alex Garcia and many more.
Fight, or is that always in your preparation?
I never lift weight.
The truth be told, we don't need S&C for MMA. You got guys like Arman Sarukian and GSP who still don't do traditional strength and conditioning, and they've cemented themselves as some of the best fighters of all time. But what you have got to understand is that these guys are genetic outliers. GSP would have been a world champion no matter what gym he went to in the world. Arman Sarukian has been wrestling since he could walk. Probably before he could walk, he was wrestling. This type of nurture is completely different to the normal person that's getting into MMA. And don't get it twisted, these guys still do very intense physical preparation. But nonetheless, this doesn't mean that we don't need S&C. There's a reason why mainstream professional sports teams all have strength and conditioning coaches within their camps. Football, rugby, American football, baseball, all of these top, well-paid athletes have all got personal trainers, strength and conditioning coaches that are assigned personally to them. It's not just about being the biggest, strongest athlete, although that is a massive advantage. We look at so many different aspects of the athlete to maximize their performance and minimize the chance of injury. Part 2. So what is the actual aim of strength and conditioning in sports? When we look at developing an athlete, there are many considerations that come into play, but the primary thing we're trying to do with strength and conditioning is develop attributes that we can't train as well in the sport. With the key attributes being strength, speed, power, cardiovascular output, flexibility, mobility, robustness. All of these things massively contribute to your performance and ability to stay in the sport. So you're probably thinking, yeah, but doesn't the sport do that itself? And you're right to think that. Essentially, it does. But not to the degree that well thought out strength and conditioning alongside your sports preparation does. So let's take strength for example. If you were stronger, it's pretty safe to say that you'd have a better chance of performing better. Takedowns would be easier to complete, physical strength in the clinch and on the ground, your punching power, kicking power, your submission finishing ability. These things are pretty undeniable, but how do we actually improve strength? Strength is built through progressively overloading your body over time. When you lift progressively heavy weight, you create micro tears in your muscle fibers. Your body senses this damage as a stress signal, so it repairs those fibers and adds extra protein to make them thicker and stronger than before. That way, the same weight feels easier next time. This cycle repeats. You lift, damage, repair, adapt, then lift heavier. That's the actual mechanism driving strength gains. Now, this does occur on the mats, but to a much smaller degree than it does in a weights room. Alright, now I'm going to give you another example in case you're not completely sold. How do we develop speed? And why is it important? As you can see here, we've got Max Holloway talking about his fight with Justin Gaethje. So let's have a little listen.
A lot of strength and conditioning.
We did a lot of strength. So a lot of people was talking about matching Gaethje's strength, but we still wanted to be fast. We knew we was faster than Gaethje. The main thing that we wanted to focus on was speed.
Max knew that he didn't have time to make the adaptations in strength to match Gaethje, so they were pretty smart. They honed in massively on developing speed to have that speed advantage. When we're looking to develop speed or power, we typically work off something called the force velocity curve. We can train in multiple different ways depending on what attribute we're trying to develop. Typically, when we're training for power or speed, we want to be moving lighter weights faster than we would when we're looking to develop an attribute like strength. But why? So when we move lighter weights really fast, you're training your nervous system to recruit muscle fibers quickly and explosively. Your body adapts by improving neuromuscular coordination. Basically, how efficiently your muscles fire and work together. Speed and power isn't about how much you can lift like strength training. It's about how fast you can generate that force. Moving lightweight explosively teaches your body to maximize the speed of contraction, which translates directly to faster strikes, quicker footwork, and more explosive takedowns in MMA. It's a different adaptation pathway than strength, which is why both matter. Step 3. Alright, but how does it make us more resilient to injuries? Surely lifting heavy weights puts more stress on the body. I get this thought process. I also thought this once myself, but let me explain. I use multiple different training methods to reduce the chance of injury and consequently spend more time on the mats improving rather than on the sidelines recovering from injuries. Here are some of the ways I do it and why. First off, we have plyometrics. Plyos train your tendons and connective tissue to absorb and quickly transfer force, which basically means they can handle sudden impacts way better. Not only making you more powerful, but they expose your body to repeated high output movements across multiple planes of motion, essentially thickening and strengthening the sides of your ligaments and tendons. Stronger, thicker connective tissue means they're more resilient to tears and strains, which is absolutely huge for such a high contact sport like MMA, where you're always twisting and contorting your joints. I also use isometrics. Isometrics are where you hold positions under tension, you build stabilizer muscles, and they strengthen the connective tissue around joints by putting sustained pressure on them. Together, both of these things create a much more robust system. And last but not least is building some muscle, or as I like to call it, building some armor. Building muscle mass around vulnerable areas like your shoulders, knees and your ankles is going to be like a big protective layer. The muscles almost act like a shock absorber and stabilization. So when you take an awkward hit or land poorly, your joints have more support and they're much less likely to tear or cause worse damage. This part is crucial. Strength and conditioning does not make you bulletproof. You can still get hurt, especially in MMA where it's so fast-paced and unpredictable. But what it does is reduce your chance of injury significantly. A well-conditioned athlete might walk away from a situation that would have completely torn an untrained athlete's ACL. It's like building a strong foundation for a house. It handles stress better, but a big enough earthquake is still going to cause damage. So let's bring it all together. Do you need S&C for MMA? No, you can develop as a fighter without ever stepping foot in the weights room. Elite athletes have proved that. But will it improve your athletic performance, reduce your injury risk, and give you an edge over your competition? Absolutely, yes it will. Now look, I'm a BJJ Brown Belt who's been training MMA across different disciplines for over a decade. I've been on the mats for long enough to know that technique and the sport itself will always be king. Nothing replaces hours of drilling, sparring and refining your craft. But S&C is what builds the athletic foundation, making you fitter, faster, stronger and harder to hurt. And when you're spending more time on the mats instead of on the sidelines recovering, that compounds into a serious advantage over time. The sport develops you. S&C just accelerates it. If you're confused about where to start and want to cut through all of the noise online, I've put together a free strength and conditioning program specifically designed for MMA. No fluff, no gimmicks, just the stuff that actually works. Hit the link below and grab your copy to start building that athletic foundation.